trophy has a red and gold reflection.
These guys are hungry for more. They want to build a dynasty here.
Believe in each other. Fly around. Let's find a way to win this game.
And he's going to be hit. Chris Jones got him in a bear hug. Pacheco blasts into the end zone at the 10-5. Leaped to the end zone. Touchdown.
I thought it was.
This journey began way back on April 17th when the Chiefs reported for the first day of the offseason training program. That led to OTAs, minicamp, training camp, the preseason, and a full 17-game schedule. And now, after 9 months of work, this is the reward, the chance to play for another championship. We are 2 hours from kickoff. You've waited all week for this very moment. It's finally here. It is time for football in Chiefs Kingdom. My name is Matt McMullen. This is Voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. This is StorageMart this is Field Pass presented by StorageMart. It's cold out here. And Mitch, once again, the obvious thing, it's very cold here today.
Hey, it's Point Barrow, Alaska is what this is. Truthfully, though, this will be the fourth coldest playoff game in pro football history. We know the Ice Bowl's #1. Then there was the Vikings game against the Seahawks, the year they had to play at the University of Minnesota. And then there was the Freezer Bowl or whatever they called it in 1981. And then this one, #4. And depending on the circumstances, it could move up the charts. We've never had a day like this in the history of this stadium.
Yeah, it's currently 0 degrees down here on the field with a wind chill of -20. It is chilly, and it's only going to get colder. The projected kickoff temperature is -4 degrees with a wind chill of -22, just unbelievably cold. These are tough conditions, obviously, for anyone. What gives you confidence, though, our guys can fight through this and find a way to get a victory?
Well, it starts with the mindset, and the mindset is with Coach Andy Reid. He sets that up even in the springtime. Now, there's no way you can assimilate this, but still, he tries to get that mindset. Honestly, the first priority is this, and the game will be decided in this. We're going to go through a bunch of stuff, but seriously, everybody who touches the ball, now this includes James Winchester on a 15-yard punt snap, Tommy Townsend who catches that snap, and he's going to have to kick a dirt clod, right? Or an 8-yard placement snap, he's got to catch that, and then kicking it, covering kicks, fielding kicks. I'm telling you, you have to have the concentration and urgency if it's the only time you'll touch the ball in your life, and do it every time. I know that sounds dramatic, but those things will determine this game.
Well, here's the good news for the Chiefs. It hasn't been this cold all week, obviously, but it was cold in Kansas City. It was like in the 20s and in the 30s, and the guys practiced out in that. That kind of helps at least assimilate a little bit to what the weather is here today. But on a night like this where it's not going to be fun to tackle anyone, could be a big game for Isaiah Pacheco.
No kidding. It has to be. Quite honestly, has to be. And I'm going to throw Michael Pirine in there, because I think that Pop will get most of it. But let's say the Chiefs run the ball 30 times. Be nice and get some chunk runs, right? Like Pop had against the Bengals. But last week's game with Pacheco, with Pirine, gives him confidence to give him 5 or 6 carries and let him power away with 2 big backs, not just 1, 2.
It'll be tough for our defense here tonight as well, but they'll have to tackle this Miami running game that we're going to talk all about here in a moment. But first, you and I had a chance to catch up with George Karlaftis earlier this week on our podcast.
Yep, it's playoff time, so for sure we need to have George Karlaftis on defending the kingdom. But I want to ask you first and foremost, just this year or two, what's happened to take it even another step further? What has happened for you to get even better?
I think when you talk about the improvements made from year to year, you got to go back in the off season. I reflected upon year one and what I could improve, what I could do better. I took notes and came up with a game plan for the off season, tried to do everything in my power to become a better player so I could help this team. And, I feel like I've done that. I've made strides. I have a lot of things to improve on, but I feel like as a collective, as a defense, we had so many guys do that and take that next step. And I think we're playing some pretty good football right now.
That was the exciting conversation all offseason because you guys as a rookie class last year as a defense helped the Chiefs win a Super Bowl. And then the question was, can you take that next step and be even better this year? And the answer is yes. I mean, you guys finished as the #2 scoring defense in the NFL. Right. How much pride do you take in that you guys as a group could be the defense that you were this season?
Absolutely. I mean, we talked about it. We knew we knew what we had to do in order to reach this point. You know, we came a little short. We wanted to be number one, but you know, we just had to make those strides in the offseason and training camp and OTAs, coming together, being selfless, being disciplined, listening to our coaches, doing all that in order to help this team win games at the end of the day.
Last year it was a record. You're going, okay, rookie, hey, we win the Super Bowl, but so many rookies played on defense and special teams and won the Super Bowl. Now as we go into the playoffs in a second time, how helpful is that to you and the rest of your cohorts?
Just having that experience. You know, we have some new guys that haven't really been there, so being able to be a leader and tell them how that really is and how the game changes in the playoffs, I think that's really helpful. But on top of that, you know, you have that experience. You know what it's like. You know what to expect in those games. So you adjust and you prepare accordingly.
For you guys as a pass rush, what's the challenge of facing a player like Tua who likes to get rid of the ball super quickly?
You just said it. I mean, he likes to get rid of it super quick, you know, so you got to get your hands up. You know, there's different. When you play each quarterback, he's one of those elite guys, you know, so you prepare differently for those guys. They have a great offensive weapons, and they're a great offense. I think the number one offense or whatever it is, but you try to get there by any means necessary. You adjust things in your game plan, maybe to make him hold the ball more, or get your hands up before you get there. You just got to stay disciplined, listen to your coaching, and everything else will take care of itself.
But you're a Purdue guy, so you've been around great engineering.
Yep.
Matt and I talk about this. How can you affect, even with Tua, the aerodynamics of the throw? Okay? Even if you don't knock it down, even just like how the ball's released, can you affect the timing of the play?
I don't think that's really by getting your hands up, really by being disruptive, like getting in his face, like me getting near the quarterback, him really feeling the pressure, like Chris getting back there, Mike or Charles or whoever's out there, you know, affecting him, making him move, making him scramble, making him feel the pressure. I think that can affect the ball and where it's thrown.
You guys have been a SWAT team all year between you, like you and Charles and Chris and others, getting your hands up, and hopefully we see that here in this one. I want to ask you about Chris, too, before we let you go, because it was awesome seeing everyone like embrace him on the sideline last week after he got that sack. What was that moment like for you guys as a defense?
It was special, man, to see that guy get a big bonus like that. He works his tail off every single week. He gets double-teamed more than any other player I've ever seen. And, you know, to see him getting double digits is a milestone, you know. So to see him get that again, I don't know how many years it's been that he's gotten that, but it's significant. And to see him doing it as a defensive lineman after being double teamed, after facing a bunch of adversity, man, I just couldn't be happier for him, because he you know, he's the piston that drives the engine, you know. So
he's trying to catch up to you with 10.5 sacks, right?
Yeah, we're tied. We're tied. So.
It always goes back. See, piston, engine, it's this Purdue background. One final question, though, is the fact that you guys were number one in the NFL in points allowed in the second half. You only gave up 120 points all year in the second half in the regular season. Why was that, and how important will that be in this game against the Dolphins?
Right. I think we always talk about finishing, just finishing game. Maybe the first half didn't go exactly how we wanted. We're going to make sure in the second half that we stay disciplined, we execute the team, and then let the chips fall as they may.
All right, we're ready. Turn him loose. George Karlaftis in the playoffs.
All right, great stuff there from George Karlaftis. And speaking of defense, we're now joined by one of the greatest defensive players in Chiefs history. It's Tamba Hali. Tamba, what's going on?
It's cold out.
It is pretty cold.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you joining us on the coldest day ever. And it leads to my first question for you. What's the coldest game you remember playing in, and how did you get ready for it and handle those conditions?
2016, I think we played the Titans.
Yeah.
It was like a record-setting day as well. Getting ready is the same routine. It's really cold. Came out here, I ran around the field, got my hand warmed up, but it's cold. I mean, you don't want to hit the ground. You know, it's that kind of game. But you know how we play. We went ahead and got it done. I don't know if we won that game.
We did not. We lost 19-17. Not that I remember.
I don't want to remember.
But this isn't Liberian weather, is it? This isn't what you grew up with. But I do want to ask you how much satisfaction you've seen in this Chiefs defense this year become a prominent defense. They're top 3 in the league.
Yeah, the guys just go out and they perform. They don't, not a lot of talking. They started the year a little slow, but as time progressed, the defensive line came along, George came along. I love the fact that Chris forgot about the money business came. And then what's the big kid? I forget his name. He's an African kid.
Oh, Felix Anjadike Uzama?
Yeah. Oh, my God.
He's from the continent, man.
He's like a beast. Yeah. He gets out there and he's having fun.
Yeah. Well, this has been the number 2 scoring defense in the NFL. They've been awesome all year long. It's kind of a challenge tonight, though, against a quarterback like Tua Tagovailoa because of that quick release, though. As an edge rusher, how do you deal with that when the quarterback gets rid of the football so quickly?
It's frustrating. Usually we just try to compress the pocket, make sure he stays in the pocket. He doesn't get a chance to run around. But it is frustrating. Peyton used to do it a lot. You get the ball out quick. But throughout the game, you have to hold it at one point, and our guys can go after him.
Tom, but my biggest concern is Miami's explosive run game with Mostert and with Devon Achane. How do you handle disrupting Tua, but also defending and keeping these home runs out of the equation?
Those are the fast guys. If they can get to the edge, it's a foot race, and they're going to beat us at that one. So it's going to be on our guys to set the edge and keep the ball inside. It's cold out here. You know what I mean? You got to go out there, force fumble, force the ball. But, yeah, you got to be disruptive when those guys are running the ball.
Now, Tamba, this is the 9th straight year the Chiefs are in the playoffs. It's been a remarkable run, I think the 3rd longest run in NFL history. But you helped lay this foundation back in 2015, 16, and 17, leading the Chiefs to the playoffs. What about those times, about Coach Reid and the culture we have here, gave you the confidence that this could be one of the greatest runs in NFL history that we're enjoying now?
From the beginning, the very beginning, Coach came in, his demeanor, the way he went about business. Some things we wanted to do, he allowed us. Some things he didn't allow it. But immediately, we changed the culture, the way we played defense. We went from being 2-14, I think, that year, to winning like 9 straight games the following year. Yeah. A bunch of Pro Bowlers on the team. But Coach, it's just different. He gets rid of players. He brings in players. Somehow he finds a way to win with star players or players with no names. Like guys like Snead. Like that's one of the best corners in the game right now. Wow. No one knows about it.
You were with the team 10 years. I was with the team 21, and we finally won that playoff game in Houston.
We did.
Now, I want to ask you what that meant to you and what it means to a guy like Drew Tranquill for us who's never won a playoff game if he can win this game tonight.
It's huge. Played 12 years in the league. I think that was my first time winning a playoff game, going to the playoff. We lost when I first got in the league to the Super Bowl champs, Peyton Manning and those guys. But to win that game is huge. We worked throughout the season, and a lot of guys are dedicated, committed to the team, and to get in the postseason and just snug one out, especially for the franchise at the time because we were rebuilding. And, it means a lot. You don't get a lot of playoff wins. The guy I played with, the center, Casey Wegman, he played 15 years. He never won a playoff. He never even went to the playoffs and won.
That's crazy.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Well, last question, Tom, then we'll let you go back inside. You're on the drum here tonight, of course, once again, the coldest night ever, but you'll be up there firing everybody up. You gave this franchise so much. What's it going to mean to you to feel that love and appreciation from the fans?
I appreciate Chiefs Kingdom. Anytime I come out here, it's so much love. It goes unsaid. Being up there tonight, banging the drum, the fans knowing that I'm here to support our team, it means a lot to me. It means a lot.
Well, Tom, but we appreciate you. Thanks so much for being with us. Go get warm before you have to go up there on the drum. But thank you, man.
He's a good man, Matt. That's a good man. God bless you, brother. He's a good man.
He's the best, isn't he?
And he was, even in those bad years, he was strength. He lives up to his name and his heritage, Liberian heritage. He was just a constant pillar of strength, and Coach used him to build what it is today. So we can't really appreciate Tom Holly enough.
So we just got the inactives. We're about 5 minutes early. But let's go over these here, Mitch. The ones for the Chiefs, really no surprises here for Kansas City. We already knew Wanye Morris was not going to play here in this one. He remains in concussion protocol. He's not going to play. The good news is Donovan Smith is healthy and good to go here in this game. We haven't seen Donovan in about 5 weeks now with that neck injury, but great having Donovan Smith back at left tackle. Looks like Kadarius Toney, who's questionable coming in, he is inactive here in this game. And then wide receiver Justin Ross, also questionable coming in this game. But overall, all things considered, after a 17-game season, the Chiefs are relatively healthy coming into this one.
Yeah, really, and having that week, that pseudo bye week last week, was enormous for this team. Even for guys that were on the injured list that can play today, but even guys like Kelsey and Patrick Mahomes to back up mentally and physically to get ready for today. That pseudo bye week was big for this team. And if the Chiefs win tonight, especially have a big second half, I'm going to look back to that Week 18 week of rest for many guys for being critical. There's one big one that I see for the Dolphins as I was looking over your homework, because Javon Holland, I think, is on there, and that was one of their safeties. They're beat up on defense.
Yeah, big deal. It looks like Javon Holland not going to play in this game. He was questionable coming in with not one knee injury, but 2 knee injuries. When you have knees on the injury report, that is never good. And Javon Holland not going to play here in this game. That is significant. They had some other guys that were questionable coming in that are going to play, though, it looks like. Running back Raheem Mostert with a knee and an ankle injury. He was questionable coming in. Missed the Dolphins' last 2 games. Really good player. Rushed for over 1,000 yards this year and led the NFL with 18 rushing touchdowns. He's going to give it a go here in this one. And wide receiver Jalen Waddle also going to play here in this game. Again, not really a surprise. We thought these guys would play, but he hasn't played in a couple of weeks and is nursing a high ankle sprain. So Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert, both going to play. Xavier Howard not going to play in this game. We already knew that. He's been ruled out with a foot injury. But Javon Holland, a bit of a surprise.
Well, and again, they're down. And they were almost down both their safeties, but they're down their top 2 pass rushers. They're down. I mean, they have 6 linebackers, I believe, on injured reserve. Van Ginkel's a big one that got hurt last week. And we know about Chubb. But they've got 2 guys on the interior that can be nasty. One is Seiler, 92, and Wilkins, 94. Remember what the Raiders did here a couple weeks ago. And what was overlooked was the Raiders' inside techs. Those guys can wreck the party. Chiefs are going to have to handle those guys.
Let's talk about these injuries, though, for the Dolphins that you touched on, because they do have some significant players missing, in addition to the guys that I just talked about. Think about that matchup back in Week 9. This defense looks a whole lot different because of some of the players the Dolphins are missing. Not going to have edge rusher Jalen Phillips. He had 6.5 sacks through 8 games before being lost for the season. Edge rusher Bradley Chubb, we know him from his time in Denver. 11 sacks on the season before he got hurt a couple weeks ago. Not going to play here in this game. You mentioned Andrew Van Ginkel, sneaky good player.
Really good.
6 sacks on the year. Got hurt last week. Not going to play in this one. And linebacker Jerome Baker, he's their defensive signal caller. He's like their Nick Bolton, their green dot. He got hurt last week. He's not playing here in this game. So to simplify it, they're missing 3 of their top 5 leaders in pressures on the season. And if you look back at that Week 9 matchup, they're missing 247 defensive snaps from that game. That's significant.
No question. And they had to go on the street. They had to go on the street to get Melvin Ingram II, who's played with them the last couple of weeks. Remember what Melvin did for us in the 21 playoffs. And then our old friend Justin Houston, we had Tyreek come over and give us some love when he saw Tomba. But Jehu, Ingram, Malik Reed, they just signed, and they just made him active right before the game. He played against us when he was with the Raiders, so the Raiders let him go. And Bruce Irvin, a 12-year veteran. These are guys literally that were on the street less than a month ago. And I'm not casting aspersions at them. They bring a lot of experience. Remember, Melvin Ingram made the hit on Melvin Gordon that gave the 86-yard scoop and score in Denver to Nick Bolton in his rookie season. But still, you would think the Chiefs could have the advantage if they handle Seiler and Wilkins. That is the key in this game for the Chiefs.
And got to run the ball. That's truly the key, I think. Hopefully a big day from Isaiah Pacheco coming. And we saw a big day from Isaiah the last time he was on the field against the Bengals. He rushed for 130 yards, a career high, averaged more than 7 yards per carry. So hopefully he can do that here again in this game. Also quickly want to ask you about this Dolphins offense because they are interesting. Yeah. We think about Tyreek and Waddle and their passing game, and for good reason. They led the NFL in passing yards this year, but their running game truly is where it all begins for them. Their running game is dynamic. And we talked about Mostert, but we only briefly talked about Devon Achane, a tremendous rookie, one of the most electric, dynamic running backs in the NFL. We didn't see him back in Week 9 due to a knee injury, but he's healthy now. This guy averaged nearly 8 yards per carry on just over 100 attempts.
They lead the league in runs of 50 yards or more, by far. Mostert has 4 runs of 40 yards or more in his career, and there goes my boards.
It's windy down here.
Achane this year has a 76-yard touchdown and a 67-yard touchdown. We talk about chunk plays and Tyreek Hill and Waddle. Like I said with Tamba, my biggest fear in this game is Miami hitting those long runs for scores. And if you don't tackle well, I know it sounds elementary, but tackling is a premium in these conditions. Special teams and tackling. You've got to be assignment sound and make tackles. If you let Achane get out the gate, I think he's the fastest guy in the league right now, about 4.32. You mentioned he's dynamic, but a night like tonight, the cold weather doesn't slow that down. You cannot let him get out the gate. It's a problem.
And that running game, when it's working, opens things up for this quick passing game. Now, I don't know how often the Dolphins are going to throw it here tonight, but when they do throw it, they love to get rid of the football quickly. Tua Tagovailoa has the fastest average time to throw of any passer in the NFL this season at 2.32 seconds, just lightning quick. And Tua is really effective when that's working. When he gets rid of the ball in less than 2.5 seconds this year, Pro Football Focus ranks him as the best quarterback in the NFL. But when he holds onto the ball longer than 2.5 seconds, that ranking drops all the way to 12th. So one thing the Chiefs did a great job of back in Germany, and George kind of talked about this earlier on the show, is getting their hands up and messing with his rhythm. That's truly the key against Tua.
Two keys. One is reroute them at the first fraction. You just explained how a fraction of a second, 2.38 to 2.5, above 2.5. He has 19 touchdowns, less than 2.5, and 10 TDs and 8 picks if it's 2.5 or more. It's just so drastic. And yes, a fraction of a second means that much. Two things: reroute the receivers, be physical. That worked in Germany. Two is affect the physics of the throw. George kind of blew that off a bit, but you talk to this team getting hands up. I will swear by it. I'll say it 10 more times. The most devastating defensive play many times is a pass knocked down, because there'll be a dude wide open 40 yards down the field, and when offensive coaches look at the video, they'll go, oh my God, it was there. But when you knock down that pass or affect the physics of the throw, it can really bother Tua.
Well, we will close with
Can I say this one thing too?
Yes, go right ahead.
It's so important in this weather: special teams, tackling, and getting ahead. The Dolphins are a front-running team. They led at halftime this year 12 of their 17 games. They're 11-1 in those 12 games. Trailing at half, they're 0-5. You've got to get ahead of this team. That would be first priority one, whether you get first possession or not. Try to get ahead, because if you get 2 scores ahead, it gets that much colder. So it's big, especially against this team, whether it was 80 degrees or -8.
It's -2 degrees out here, but are you fired up right now?
Let's go, baby.
Well,
Got the old Smith Center going, man.
That's the thing. We'll close with this. Again, this work began 9 months ago in April, and this was the goal, was to get back to this moment for a chance to play for a championship. Where would you rather be in Kansas City on a subpolar kind of night than with a chance to beat the Dolphins here on Wild Card Weekend? For Mitch Holthus, I'm Matt McMullen. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Let's go get a victory.